happens with him, Mr. Speaker.
I call Stephen Browning.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This very, very short time that's been mooted for reporting this bill needs to be reviewed because, Mr. Speaker, this is a significant piece of law. It affects all New Zealanders. It affects New Zealanders in a range of ways. It could be in their individual lives, it can be in their membership of different organisations, it can be to do with their faiths, it could be all sorts that this bill will cover. Those people need significant time to both actually get a grasp of the enormity of this bill. They need to be informed on the way that it can affect them in their lives. They need to be able to get expert advice if they so choose. They need to be able to draft submissions. They need to review those, and they then need to submit, and they need to have access to the committee to speak to their submissions. We are talking about potentially everyone and anyone, and 2 months is definitely going to block out significant numbers of people, even though they may wish to submit to that committee. It was concerning to be reminded that there are no substitutes able to be on that committee. And while in a way contrary to another call ensuring that this very small committee may risk to have basically struggle to have full attendance if the Prime Minister's away or other very busy members of Parliament, I actually think it would be very, very good that we did have substitutes, and maybe that needs to be considered, because in this instance, where we're considering whether we need more time, we need to reflect that the Prime Minister himself is absolutely culpable in the illegal spying that has preempted this bill. Fast tracking over a couple of months, reporting by the 26th of July, will not cut it. This is about civil liberties, and New Zealanders, as I say, need time to engage in this bill, and we need to give them opportunity to find out about it, and we have to think about who is going to do that. We've got an organisation that is the GCSB that's covered by it, the SIS implicated with it, and also a number of departments. Are they going to be letting New Zealanders know about the significance of this bill and that they need to get involved and submit to it? There's a lot of questions about that, and certainly time isn't there in this. The hugeness of this, and I need to point out the type of organisations that could be affected. There's a march involved shortly to do with genetic engineering and pesticides and things, march against Monsanto. Those are the sort of people that would be potentially spied on by this. They may want to submit and to talk about the fairness that they should be covered by in terms of legislation. The ploughshares people I mentioned earlier, civil society generally, and there's a lot of organisations involved there. And there are professionals and academics that will want to be involved. And I note an ODT article with some University of Otago professors talking about the national security state brought on by this bill. I'm sure that they will be wanting to submit, Mr. Speaker. And they've sort of pointed out that the worrying implications for individual privacy, civil liberties and national security, they've pointed out that this proposal had. And that covers everyone. That certainly covers everyone, and everyone needs a full opportunity. They added, "We do not think this critical law should be changed without more extensive public discussion about its potential costs and benefits." So I think Professor Kevin Clements and Professor Richard Jackson from the National Centre for Peace and Conflict Studies raised a very, very important point. And that point, if it's to be considered appropriately, and if we're to extend it, would mean that we should be giving much, much, much more time to this bill in front of a select committee, and a select committee that probably shouldn't have John Key anywhere near it, and certainly not voting on it. There's at least 18 months of illegal spying. We have no inquiry. The nearest thing to inquiry will be the submissions to the select committee. So surely the public could have at least, 6 months? A third of the time that illegal spying's been going on, that this bill is about? What we've got is 2 months. A ninth of the time that the illegal activity that John Key knew about. So this is the amount of time the public have to actually properly realise that this bill that's been thrust on them this week, that they can suddenly get into gear and get submissions that would have import enough to reflect, to potentially change the wording of this bill, to come to us as members of Parliament that might be able to assist, particularly those involved in that select committee. They clearly haven't got a chance of getting very, very far. And I'll just point out the functions of the Bureau as such. In the old law, it finishes in a way, the performance of the Bureau's functions is subject to the control of the Minister, John Key, and he failed.
Just order. Look, this debate, if the member would sit while I'm on my feet, this debate can only deal with the period why it's being truncated, and there's a standing order 2863. So if the member just comes back to that, you've been fine up to now, but you can't deviate and start talking about things of substance. So the member, Stephen Browning.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yeah, so I've expressed a fair amount of it. I think those organisations that will want to come to the committee, as I've mentioned earlier, there's the faith organisations. They're generally involved around these civil liberties issues of privacy. Business will be concerned as well because of the levels that this bill can go to, so they will want to submit. The telcos, and we know we've got another bill that will affect them too, they will want to be involved. The departments that are included in the powers of this bill, and there's a number of government departments are given access to it. I would expect that how that is managed for them, that they would also want to be involved. So everybody will or should be wanting to be involved here. And the 2 months aspect of it may actually make some of them say, well, this isn't worth it. And that would be very, very disappointing. And maybe that is part of the point of it. So I wonder...
Sorry to interrupt the honourable member. The time has come for me to leave the chair for the dinner break. This debate is interrupted. I shall resume the chair at 7:30.